Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Bruce Colgren, and I call this Temple Planning Board meeting to order. First order of business would be to appoint Jim Maderis as a voting member. So we do have a quorum. Draft minutes from January 21st.
Russ maybe just pulled in, but maybe I'm going over there.
Oh, to be able to run that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And somebody joined her. It's Todd in there.
Well, pretty important guy.
Yeah.
Did either of you guys have anything on the minutes?
I just had one spelling thing on page 2. Work session number 1, letter C, weather, it should be WH. Oh, yes, it should. That's the only thing I noticed.
Do we think Russ just pulled in? Is that what-
I saw something,
Yeah.
somebody pull in, so. Not sure.
I'll entertain a motion to
So moved to approve the
approve the
minutes as
as
amended.
amended. Yeah. All right, Christine, how do you vote?
Yes.
I vote yes.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Minutes approved. You have a problem with the minutes? Good, perfect.
Nice.
Welcome, Russ. We'll call the meeting order. We just did the minutes, and now we're at the time where we ask for invitation for public comment. I don't think that we have anybody here for that. So our work session tonight, our HOP, our HOP grant work with the Southwest Regional Planning and our guest, Sarah Bollinger. And do we have Todd
Todd is, online.
online?
He's currently muted, but
Yep.
you can probably wave his
Yep.
hand if he wants to say something.
Yep.
Do you wanna? Oh, is he waving? There he is. Do you want to speak, Todd?
No, I'm here mostly to listen and help Sarah capture feedback from you all. But I can hear you all loud and clear, and I'll pipe up as necessary.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
So Sarah, you sent out a memo in preparation for the meeting. Everything, did you want to give an overview or?
Asking if everybody read the memo. It does kind of gauge the pace that I the overview. So good. Contemplate reading the memo. So I guess the first thing is our summary of the previous HOP work. Did you find that to be correct with your impressions of all of the work to date? You know, that there's an openness in this community to expand housing opportunities and housing options, but it needs to be very measured. Because there's,
It is a
Yeah,
good
I
way
think
of
that's
saying it.
very accurate, yes.
Yes.
yeah, I mean, it's a fine line balancing, you know, the character of your community with the objectives of natural resource conservation and just sort of the fear of change
Mhm.
and not wanting to open up the community to, like, you know, a 25% increase in housing stock in a year, which I don't think any of this is actually going to achieve. It will just make it easier for development to occur in a measured way. But, okay, so we haven't missed anything there. And to date, you guys have your subdivision regulations updated. Had a number of zoning amendments last year that passed, and 5 that pertain to housing for this year.
Is it 4 for housing and then the 1 for the ZBA? I have it.
It got a little complicated because of the expansion and changes in the ADU and multifamily ordinance. There were, you know, a number of changes in there.
So yes, it is 5 related to housing and then the one for the ZBA.
And I didn't attend both of the hearings for that. I only attended the one. But it didn't seem like there was much community feedback that was negative about the housing amendments. Did you guys?
No, no, I don't think so. I mean, Carter had concerns about the multifamily for,
Yeah.
you know, which she expressed, and I think you heard and acknowledged. But yeah, I think that was really it, other than the, you know, the historic, wanting to protect historic features. So we added language for that.
And do you, I don't know, what's your pulse for what's gonna happen at town meeting? Do you think all the measures are gonna pass?
I have no idea.
I don't have any reason to believe they wouldn't. I haven't heard anybody up in arms or any negative feedback enough to make me think that it wouldn't pass.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, that all wouldn't pass, yeah. I think they have faith in the system and, you know, what we did and all the forums and the, you know, the committee, you know, that they did so much work and
Mhm.
we've been talking about this now for several years. So it's not a big surprise unless somebody's new to town that we've been working on this.
Yeah.
And it's really, they're not drastic measures
No.
by any means
No,
compared to
not.
what other towns might be doing, you know, it's. So,
Definitely reasonable and measured.
yeah,
Mhm.
so, I think so.
These seem to be the ones that, like when we did the forms for the hot grant stuff. They came up here because that's the most popular one, so. Input problems.
Yeah.
Right,
We would be into this, so you would think it's,
right. That's why we chose those
yeah.
3 areas to focus on.
it seemed
Yeah.
like-
Well, that's a really good starting place.
Yeah, I know, and this was all on the heels of, the charrette, we did a charrette as well,
Right.
3 years ago?
It was probably 2021.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
so we've been talking, housing's been, it's not really.
At least 5 years, probably 6 years, because it was before I joined the
Mhm.
planning board, so.
Yeah.
And I've been on 5 years.
I'm not sure if I've seen anything from the charrette materials that I've reviewed, but
It's all on the planning board page.
Yeah.
so the proposed approach is kind of following the timeline that we shared at the last meeting. And so the first thing that we want to address is your site plan regulations, but you know, saying that, I don't want to say we might address them twice, but it might be as the proposed zoning amendment come together. It may open up some more conversations about ways that the site plan regulations can guide development most responsibly for your goal. You know, but with that in mind, I marked off a few sections that we specifically are looking at. First, I didn't think what these topic sections are. So 3, 4, 5, and 13. And I believe section 5 is your standard or something along that.
Yeah, the first couple are process, right?
Yeah, the first 2 are.
Oh, it's like one.
Section 3 is procedures. 4 is submission requirements, 5 is general standards.
Yep.
And then 13 was the large scale and utilities, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that one.
Infrastructure.
Amendments to 13, very minimal, really
Mhm.
just changing the language at the very beginning of it to ensure that it's housing development.
Yep.
We don't really need to spend a lot of time there. But without getting into like really the meat of it, we're looking at expanding language for buffering, landscaping, and low impact development. And
Which is like the stormwater.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and specific stormwater standards as well. But having said that, is that the direction you guys are envisioning taking it?
Yes. I mean, what you were just saying about revisiting, that was a question I had as well, because, you know, the open space, the the stormwater, we may see that in the zoning as well. So obviously to be consistent in
Yeah,
both
well,
places.
and with the site plan review regulations, it gives you an opportunity to potentially have guidelines that are a little bit more strict than what you see in the zoning ordinance, but it gives you the opportunity to waive them. They
Mhm.
don't make sense for the development without an applicant having to go through the process of a variance.
Right,
And,
right.
Since you guys don't have groundwater protection ordinance, I don't.
We have wetlands and aquifer. Yeah.
Okay. I have spent time with them, I can't bring them to the top of my mind right now. It just doesn't seem like there's a lot in there that is really restricting development.
I'd say that the
Yeah,
wetlands has a
specific.
buffer.
Yeah, the wetlands.
I don't think the aquifer really has much into it.
No, it doesn't. No, it's just, you can't, it tells you what you can, restricted uses, right?
And the aquifer in town. I've looked at the maps, but sorry, I've looked at a lot of maps. How much of your town has the aquifer running through it? Is it a concern in a lot of areas?
There's not just one, I think.
Yeah, it's spread out.
Yeah.
I would say it follows on the little valleys, right?
Okay. So it's probably generally also following your development.
North Temple on the 101 corridor
Yep.
is a large one. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
But it is where the brooks are.
Yeah.
okay. Well, yeah, so it gives an opportunity to add some more, I don't know, guidance for that type of development. So that you can limit what's happening. But you don't have to. I guess would be the best way to put it. Because within the HOP scope, you can't actually put together an ordinance for groundwater protection because the state or state of each FA.
New Hampshire Housing.
That they butcher it, they cut that part from your scope,
They did.
so we're able to kind of work it in these other areas. We can't do that as a standalone.
Right,
We're gonna do a workaround.
right, right.
Okay, so are there other parts of the site plan regulations that in this moment you think we're sort of missing in our overview? We will look at this, like,
Yeah, we can
my hope is to give you guys some draft revisions before
Yeah.
the next meeting. Not the next planning board meeting, but the next meeting that I have with you guys, so 2 meetings from now.
Yeah, the second meeting in March.
Yeah, second meeting in March, but I want to make sure that I'm going to make it before I spend a lot more time on that.
Yeah, so you're looking at stormwater management, landscaping, buffers. And, well, low impact development.
Yeah.
What is an interpretation and, conflict clause? Never mind, you explained that. I just underlined it and then I read what came after.
Yeah.
Yep. Right.
So what areas are we focusing on for the buffering and stormwater management?
Mostly section 5, and I was going to create a new section. I don't know if you want to number section 6 and just kind of keep moving things down, but within that, it will outline very specific design standards. And so the language in section 5 is going to the new section that is a very specific standard for each element that you're adding. And so that's another question I have. The landscaping, obviously the rural community is natural landscape and ideally natural buffers. And so I'm not sure what direction you want to take landscaping, if it's more about a catalog and maintenance of existing natural buffers, or incorporating a specific number of trees into the development based on frontage or disturbance or there's a lot of different ways you can go with it,
right.
and I'm not sure what way you guys want to go.
Well, so for example, I mean, the one we did with all-purpose storage, I mean, Randy is in a butter to that project. And so he requested some trees to be planted. So he has a screen because it's his view. It was in his view shed. So, so something like that. The other thing was the setback.
Yep.
From the property line. There was no guidance for us and to help us determine what is appropriate
Yeah.
for a
and-
natural buffer or any.
Right,
Well, the trees. And that was, you guys negotiated that.
Right.
There wasn't a number that we said, oh, you're doing it right, you're doing it wrong, or we need this. They just said, well, what if Randy wants trees, that, what if we do this, maybe we talk back and forth, and then that's how it.
did it work out?
Well, we're still, it's either a storm or something, showing your plant to meet, so we had a great guy.
Okay,
He's been great. And I
okay,
know other things like duck hack and Sarah's way and stuff, they have landscaping things that just made sense.
yeah,
Mhm. Right.
okay, and so with that, are you guys wanting to add language in the zoning ordinance regarding your setbacks, or do you want all the buffering language to live in site plan regulation?
From my point of view, I would say the site plan regulations, because if you put it in the zoning, then all of a sudden the residences, other things that. It doesn't seem appropriate.
Right.
But it affects.
You could be building 35 feet from the property line in a field.
Yeah.
You know, and now you're being told you have to plant trees, you're just building a house.
Yeah, building a
Right.
house, putting a barn up or something.
Yeah, so I could see where it should stay in site plan review.
Okay, I mean, it could be language that, you know, exists in the PRD as well, so it's not for ordinary single family development, you know.
PID don't make sense because it's sort of the same.
Yeah, right.
And that would also be subject to site plan review, so,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, 6 of one, half dozen of the
And
other.
maybe your suggestions. Yeah, this is my personal feeling, but, see sometimes site plans, landscaping, and you will bring in whatever the nursery had cheap, or
Yes.
it doesn't really, you know, you have this row of arborvitae that just doesn't look right.
Yes,
So maybe something that's more like a list of local plants that work, function well as screening or whatever, but are gonna look like they belong here, grew here by themselves.
Right.
Yeah, not Italy.
Yeah, native species.
Because we do see that.
Yeah, I know, like
I
Lombard.
think that doesn't go with, that's not New Hampshire, that looks,
Yeah.
it looks like I'm in Italy.
do you guys have any resource for the microcosm for Temple? You know, because there is a native species plant list that UNH puts out and keeps updated, but you know, it's for the whole state, so it doesn't.
I think moose are in there, in that.
Yeah, and the natural resources inventory,
Yeah.
right?
Okay,
So I imagine so we've got the inventory, then I'm sure you could break them out into these are. You know, compare them to lists that are used for site plan. That's
Okay.
what's.
I mean, it should be pine, spruce, hemlock.
Yeah.
Maybe cedar.
Yeah.
But that, I mean, that's what we have for evergreen trees here, you know,
Yeah.
our coniferous trees, that's what they are. Well, we don't have many others. Right, hemlock, spruce, pine.
so I'll put something together and all of the numbers within it will be, well, everything in it is negotiable at this point, of course, but you know, I'll put recommended buffers and recommended number of plantings, et cetera, and then just know that anything that I'm reading to you guys, this is your stuff. So feel free to be like, we hate this, we want it to look like this or that, or, you know, that sort of thing. Do you have any other feedback on site plan regs at the moment?
The only other thing that I noted when I was reading it, which I thought was really good, was you talked about different uses of land would
Yeah.
for different buffers and setbacks. So yeah, I guess we'd have to see what that means, but I thought that was another
Yeah,
way to
that's
look
something
at
that
it.
is pretty common
Yep.
in other communities. Because, you know, low density residential development. Even if it's a PRD, it doesn't get the same type of buffering.
Okay.
that,
Right.
You know,
Right, as a commercial or,
exactly.
right,
A large storage.
right, exactly, yep,
But as an example, so, you know, Ben's facility built right in a field on 101. There was no way that we were gonna have, I mean, there was no way you could have that not be seen from the road.
Right.
So, I mean, the neighbors on Rev Road did request some buffering
right, on the backside.
on the backside.
Yeah.
But 2/3 of that building, there's just, so I don't know how.
Well, I think leaving it to the planning board to waive or negotiate, depending on the project.
Depending on the project.
Yeah.
And for
How
something
much
like
of
that,
a, sorry, go ahead.
I just say for something like that, the point of it would be to be seen.
Right,
So you wanna, the landscaping there, you wouldn't want to buffer it to hide it, you wanna do something tactful or artful, like what is that, maple trees?
Yeah.
Right. right,
And so it looks nice, it looks like it fits, like it might have always been there, you don't know.
Wouldn't it be when the neighbor, when the abutter that doesn't wanna look at it, that would be where we would come in and work with the
yeah,
abutter
right,
and the applicant to
right,
try to keep everybody happy and.
right.
But
I mean,
have,
like when it's abutting a residential property versus a main artery, you know, it's different,
How much of a buffer did they wind up installing?
remember?
it was like maybe 10 or 12 trees on the back side of the building
Yeah,
on Old Revolutionary Road.
Okay, so
Yeah,
single row of.
yeah, I think it was. I think
Okay.
so, yeah. Yeah,
yeah, I don't remember.
What happened? Okay.
Yeah.
Change some stuff so that. Okay.
Some flexibility,
Let's suggest that's some guidelines.
yeah,
And then if you have guidelines, you can say yes or no, whereas if you just wing it.
Exactly, you don't know, and then also, if you. Want to have guidelines, but you don't have them, you know, if you want something to guide the development and you don't, there's nothing you can legally do. And
Unless you
being
do it.
built, if you have no regulations to prevent it.
right,
So that's why we love the site plan review regulation. They give you a lot of flexibility and a lot of potential protection to keep your community looking and feeling the way that you want it to. Without impeding on individual property rights the way, you know, people are concerned about that, and of course, the board should always be sensitive with that, but that's what zoning is. Okay, so let's see. On to zoning. So I've put together a handful of recommendations for the PRD that, some of them are sort of in conflict with others because it's just brainstorming of what direction you guys want to take it. And my first question for you on this is, if you've considered soil-based lot sizing or density standards or anything like that for the PRD.
not since I've been on, but,
no, my uncle, who was a lifelong resident and was a member for a lot of years, he was a big proponent of that approach. He just never got the support from either the board as a whole or from the town, but he totally believes in that. And Randy, you probably, you've heard him say that many years.
I think the soil, the septic, predicates that to a certain,
Yeah.
mhm,
so it's not a huge thing, this.
You know, if you have a sand pit that perks unbelievably fast, and it is an ideal situation for a PRD, or cluster housing, whatever you want to call it, but we've just never gone there.
Mhm.
But that's probably the only way you're ever gonna have that type of development in Temples, if we change our zoning to have something like that, because
right,
no builder's gonna ever build anything like that if they have to put in an individual.
Okay, so that's something we can explore.
yes. Mhm.
That would be not a spot zone, but that would be like, if you want to do a PRD, you're doing a different set of things, right?
Yeah.
Right,
And so soil-based makes sense.
right, And it's the same with like the community water and septic, right? I mean, that plays into that as well.
Yeah.
So,
Similar idea. Let's see, most of these recommendations, the initial ones are based off of the previous prop work, so increasing the minimum track size. Is that something that you guys generally agree with?
for a PRD, we didn't really talk about it specifically, I don't think.
They call it, what's the minimum size?
I don't think we,
It's 6 acres.
oh, I was gonna.
Yeah, yeah, and we,
Bruce knows.
I know, cause I did one. No, I did.
How many lots
I
did you-
had 9 acres, but only enough frontage to do one lot. But I was able to break it off into, open the open space you need and create a second building lot. And there's currently 2 houses on that 9
Yeah.
acres now.
Shared
Well,
driveway.
it's her neighbor.
Yeah, right down the road.
With a shared driveway, and it's probably one of the smallest PRDs in town, but it did work. It did work. I think there was another one, somebody did another one that was about 6 acres somewhere.
Mm.
So how many PRDs do you think you have in town?
Oh, I looked a few years ago, 3 or 4, it's
Yeah.
not that many.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, not many at all.
Yeah.
The development on Sarah Lane or
Sarah Drive,
Sarah Drive. I noticed that those are all smaller lot sizes. Can you tell me? That's the
it's a
PRD?
That
PRD.
was a PRD, that's right.
Yeah.
How many years ago did that go in?
2005-ish.
And I don't know, Bob, you were here at that time, I have no idea, but how was that received?
No, Randy, you were on the board and
That was good, yeah, they did the open space, and it seems to be doing very well.
You don't really see it from the road either, I mean, that's.
And they're an area between us.
Mhm.
Things that they're doing properly, which is great. I mean, they loved it.
That's good.
yeah, I don't remember there being any pushback from the planning board when that PRD came through. I wasn't on the board then, but
Kind of marvelous.
you were.
The only one I remember pushback on was the Imposy one up on Old Rev.
On the mount, because
It was on the
mountain.
side of Packmanadnock, of State Park.
Oh.
It was Jeremy.
Yeah, I remember. That was my introduction to Temple meetings, town meetings. I think that's you, George.
It would have gone through, but Jim, the applicant, withdrew his, after a lot of work.
Yeah.
Put it on the back burner. It's been a lot of years.
So we don't really have to talk about specifics on this one yet, because we're not going to really start getting into the PRD bids until after the site plan review amendments are adopted. Well, hopefully, they could potentially happen at the same time, depending how controversial the site plan review conversation goes. But ideally, we'll have those regulations up and running by May, potentially sooner, based on, how much push and pull we have
Mhm.
in getting them to right where you want them.
We'd have to do a legal review too, just, and we have, money for that in our HOP grant, but I don't know that we factored that in.
But
Well, yeah, either way, regardless, we have to do a legal review
Yeah.
too at some point, so just to time wise, that, that usually takes a couple weeks.
Does this add regulations to the site plan?
For a legal review?
No, that's what we're talking.
Oh,
about.
yeah.
So we don't have to go to town court or anything? We can do that?
It's just if we have a public hearing and then if we make changes, then we could have a second hearing, but if we don't make any changes, then it could be approved that night.
Yeah, and I haven't really seen many people turn out for the public hearing on site plan regulations, so. But Temple is its own community, who knows?
We didn't have many for the subdivision hearing when we updated that, so
It's good.
we'll see.
So I guess, I don't know, do you guys want to spend more time on the PRD right now, or do you want to put a pin in this until it's nearer to when we're gonna actually start developing it?
Personally, I feel like we a pin in it, just because Carter's not here, and I know she had
Okay.
some feelings about it, so. Yeah, it might make sense to wait.
So all these recommendations here, the increased minimum tract size, the provision for backlot, that was all in regards to ERDs, is that what?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
And workforce housing on the next
In
page.
the workforce housing.
Yeah, and so workforce housing is sort of a tricky one in a rural community, as I'm sure you guys are aware, because, you know, without any public water or sewer infrastructure, the density possibilities that developers typically look for just aren't really available in a community like this, which is not a bad thing, but, it just kind of shapes the conversation differently. So for instance, or for starters, you don't necessarily even have to have a workforce housing ordinance to accomplish the goals of statute in your community. You know, like things like expanding your ADU into ADUs, changes to your PRD, allowances for the multifamily conversion, all of those can help you achieve affordable housing in your community without actually having a standalone ordinance. However, I noticed in looking at it, there was reference to workforce housing as a conditional use, or maybe that was in the PRD. One of those two ordinances says conditional use, but there's no permit after that. And you guys don't have a conditional use permit for anything in Temple, do you?
I thought we did.
Not that I have seen, we don't, do you know, George?
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it, but I don't think it's been done. Randy, I don't know if you know. Like,
No?
Because that could be, you know, establishing a process for that could be a way to capture workforce housing separate from the PRD so that, you know, it would allow you guys to review these projects very specifically and making sure that the statute is referenced at the time of application and things like that. And allow you to create specific guidelines and standards for workforce housing.
so are you saying then we would remove our workforce housing ordinance? If,
That could be part of the conversation. I'm
okay,
not saying that that's the direction that you need or should go. But,
yeah, no, that's an interesting thing to consider.
you know, because
So,
one of the things for the PRD is offering density bonuses for various design elements. And one of those design elements could be reduced structure sizes. You know, so if you have dwelling units that are 600 square feet and you allow, I don't know, a structure that has a maximum of 6 units in it or something like that, by design, those units are not going to be able to be rented out for a lot of money because you can't charge a lot for a 600 square foot apartment. So that could be a way to create opportunities for more housing diversity and more affordable housing without having an ordinance on the books. But, you know, again, I don't know if you guys have given a lot of thought to that and what direction you want to take it.
Not something I'd thought about before, so.
I know that, I don't know that the town would be opposed to it, but they don't want to see it.
Great.
They don't
That's why
want
We're
to,
gonna add all these buffers.
they don't even want to see a duplex, let alone a 6-unit building.
Yeah, that would fly.
Yeah,
Wait,
well,
So I thought the
wait,
home
now,
conversion,
do you guys allow a 6-unit in your workforce housing ordinance right now, or is it
I thought,
5?
I thought we did,
I think it's 6, because I was surprised
yeah.
that you went a little bit above and beyond the definition of multifamily statute.
that's probably it.
We've just never had there's never been an applicant, we've never had an opportunity for it.
And you
Probably
still may not.
And because there's no town sewer, no town water, it's just, it's not, yeah,
Yeah, 5 or more.
okay, 5. Yeah, because I remember when we visited, it was probably 5 or 6 years ago when we were looking at maybe proposing some changes to the zoning. Alan Pickman at the time was on the board and he had chose a piece of land in town that would be perfect for workforce housing. and he had a little plan. I have it at the home office, but
Mhm.
it showed, I think, the 5-unit buildings based on the acreage and how many you could build and how it
Yeah.
would look. That didn't go over well.
Well, yeah, and so one of my questions about that was, have you looked at overlay districts? Does it make sense to do an overlay district for something as specific as that?
It absolutely could. Really, everything is on the table right now. I'm just looking for guidance of.
A workforce housing overlay district, so this is the areas that you could.
Yeah, I don't know what you call it, but.
No, but I mean,
like
like
you-
you define
Yeah,
it by a map.
and it's called a neighborhood overlay or neighborhood district overlay, something like that. So it's not like you wouldn't build it anywhere in town, it
Right,
would be very specific. Like we looked at around the school as one area.
Or on the 101 corridor, maybe, or
Mhm.
something like that.
Yeah,
areas in town that make sense, the landscape can support it.
Yeah, everybody will tell you that they think it's a great thing and they like it, but then they don't want it in their backyard, you know, it's like the,
Right.
it's like the NIMBY thing.
right,
But the interviews from the previous top work were encouraging,
Mhm.
people saying that they want to keep moving here, but they can't find suitable housing for their needs anymore.
Right.
And if we can kind of get that message across to more members of the community, they might realize it's not them that want to live here, it's us. We want to live here. We want to stay in our community. We want to age in place. Our kids want to grow up in the community or, continue living in the community where they grew up. And I think a lot of the fear, I mean, yeah, I agree with you. They're like, I don't want to see it, but I think part of that, I don't want to see it is because they think strangers are going to live there. They don't realize that it's just their own.
It's gonna be your own people, yeah, it's gonna be your hairdresser,
Right.
your dental hygienist.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, yeah,
Yeah.
right,
yeah,
right,
and investors and.
right,
Yeah,
yeah, there's that too.
Developers are coming in and turning us into Somerville.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, and they're, you might catch a little bit of that, but by and large, I don't think that's what's gonna happen.
I don't think without municipal utilities. I don't
Yeah.
think
Yeah,
that could
right.
happen.
right, right. So when we were looking at the implementation chapter from 2003, one of the things that was highlighted there was senior housing, that people were interested in senior housing. And I think it came up a little bit during the HOP grant interviews. I know Peggy's mentioned it as well. So I know the state just changed some regulations saying if you have senior housing, you also have to allow workforce housing.
Yeah. But it's a little bit more specific than that. If you have an ordinance for senior housing, all of the provisions within that apply to workforce. Unless
Right.
you have a workforce ordinance that is equally or more permissive.
Okay, okay,
So they don't want you to have just senior housing.
Exactly.
Right,
You gotta-
right.
You gotta accommodate the workforce.
should you say that word permissive?
Oh, yeah.
So-
you gotta-
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that the section residential care facilities? Is that senior housing? Is that,
no,
that's something?
that was like a nursing home. Yeah. So it's independent living,
when we-
but for seniors.
When we purchased the Scudaney land, the town owned land right here adjacent to the village, large tract of land, one of the thoughts for the group, that put it all together when we passed it was that future use for the land could be senior housing. Yeah, that was,
Right.
that was on the table. That was
Right,
one of
and
the-
then looking at our
Yeah.
demographics as we get older
Yeah.
and every year, it's, just something to consider.
like a Peterborough River Mead right here in Temple, mini version. I think that was the thought,
Right.
one of the thoughts
Right.
that we could use for that land.
And again, it could be an overlay type of situation, or it's not townwide, it's just in a specific area.
Yeah.
So you'll see in the charrette work, when you look at that, they did some mock-ups for that as well.
Okay. Well, I will definitely look at that this week.
Yeah. Yeah,
Guys. You guys have been doing a lot of work and. taking the temperature of the town for ways that you can address housing, just make it more down.
Mhm.
A long time ago.
Yeah,
So something, future use of elderly facilities.
right. Right.
So with your master plan, do you have a time frame for your creating a new implementation chapter?
Well, we have a draft, but I think after, correct me if I'm wrong, but after our last meeting, we talked about adding some sections from the 2003 that weren't in the
Okay.
new, because they weren't covered under the scope of the work.
Yeah.
So that's something that we would work on.
Okay.
So I don't know if we have a timeline in mind. I mean, last year, but
The Dropbox?
yeah, it is in the Dropbox.
Okay.
So there's both the 2003 version, which is called Future Land Use.
I think I did look at that one.
Yeah, and then the new one is, I think, just called Implementation. Does that sound familiar?
That's like.
Yeah,
The sold and rich tonight's meeting files, or it's in there.
Yeah.
Because any language pertaining to the updates is already in that chapter.
yes,
Okay,
That.
okay. Yeah, that would be helpful.
But in the 2003, it's called the
Future Land Use,
Yeah.
future land use and
the administration section. is what you're-
administration and implementation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so in the 2024 Future Land Use, which I don't, did you look at that at all, Sarah? There were two things that we were unclear on, which I can go back to Carol Ogilvy and ask her about. One was incorporate techniques to mitigate effects of climate change into all land use proposals. I don't know what that looks like. Add a new section to Article 7 of the zoning ordinance to allow the expansion of a non-conforming lot, even if the expansion does not result in a conforming lot.
I
This,
have to read that. a few times.
yeah,
Get
yeah.
around it.
Yep,
Oh, and that brings up another question I had for you guys. With the multifamily conversion ordinance, is that in any way meant to prevent duplex conversions?
no. I don't think so.
We never talked about it.
Okay.
Turning one house into a duplex.
Yeah, rather than doing 3 units, doing 2 units. Just because looking at the way that that's written and looking at your definitions, there's the possibility it could exclude a duplex. So just knowing what your intention is.
Good
in
point.
in this moment.
That wasn't our intention,
No, that
but
wasn't.
great point.
Yeah.
So right now, obviously, primary, it would be an attached ADU. There would be size restrictions. So that would mean that applicant would have to come before the ZBA for, if they wanted an equally sized
Yeah.
apartment with the primary residence.
Right,
So the way I interpret our zoning question, we made it a maximum of 3, but it certainly didn't
Didn't mean to.
mean that we leave out a 2-unit,
mhm,
but a 2-unit can only be done by either an ADU attached, meeting the size requirement, or if this passes, I guess they could do with the ZBA, they could go for a variance.
mhm.
Go for a variance to increase the size of an ADU or decrease the number of units in the multifamily conversion.
Decrease the,
Increase the size of an ADU,
Because an ADU.
because we don't have a minimum,
The ADU still has the shared door provision, which not everybody.
which may change.
yeah, maybe we should have had the multifamily be 2 or 3. We should have said 2 or 3. And we can, if it passes, we can always amend it next year.
Yeah.
To make it, because I don't think that was our intent. that you
No,
had
it
to do
wasn't.
3.
No.
You go 1 or 3, that's it. You can't do.
Yeah.
So that's a good catch.
Yeah.
That's a good catch. None of us even thought about.
I think we were thinking the ADU would accomplish the 2.
The 2,
Yeah.
right,
And just the three
Yeah.
couldn't do.
Yeah, but this way you wouldn't, you could have a 2,000 square foot for both
Yeah.
and not have to. Well, you have to go to ZBA, so.
Yeah.
Okay,
Good.
well,
Good catch.
we are at time, so is there any closing, anything you guys wanted to add, ask, et cetera?
Well, so our next meeting with you will be the second meeting in March, is that where we're,
Yes.
second meeting in March? What do you need from, would you like from us for that meeting?
Well, my goal is to get some draft language for site plan regulations to you guys a week in advance of the meeting, or, you know, I'll get it to Kathy in time to send with your meeting materials. And so I'd like you guys to review them and have comments
Okay,
for that meeting, so we'll know what direction to take it. And, but other than that, I think that's my expectation, that.
That's great.
doable.
There'll be another report due before we meet again as well,
Okay,
the March 10th.
will it be March 10th or will it be April 10th? Because they're bi-monthly.
Oh, you're right. It is bi-monthly. You're right. I know. Yeah, it is. It's a big few because I'm gonna be away until the 6th of March. So I would have done it, but yeah.
All right, well, I think we're in good shape.
Thank
Do
you.
you guys feel like we're in good shape for beginning this part of the process?
I do. Yeah, I thought you captured everything really well. Thank you.
Thank you for
Yeah.
having me at your meeting tonight.
Thank
See you
you.
guys in a month.
thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Oh, one last question, sorry. The open space stuff, is that gonna be its own ordinance or is that gonna be part of BRD and,
I was thinking it was gonna be part of PRD,
okay,
unless you want to achieve it differently from that.
okay. Well, let's think about it and see where it goes.
Okay,
I know some towns have their own, have a separate one, so,
yeah,
What's up?
and some towns have, multiple types of cluster development.
Right,
ordinances.
right.
You know, some are specifically open space. And PRD pretty much captures that, but the way it's written right now, it leaves room to develop something that's not in open space.
Right, okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night, Tom. Thank you.
Yeah, that's right, forgot about you.
Yeah, I can see myself hovering behind you, Bruce. So I didn't want to spook you too badly by speaking up, but have a great night, everyone. Sarah and I will be recapping back in the office and looking forward to keeping this project rolling.
Thank
you. Want to add anything else or you?
No, not at all. I think it was a great conversation, and seems like we have some action items to work on over the next few weeks.
Super.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks.
All right. So Randy Martin has asked to come before the board. He has some things he'd like to talk to us about. So I told him he could come in and would squeeze him in at this point. So he wouldn't be here.
Yep.
all night.
Sure.
Into the ATO conference that you suggested last week.
Oh, great.
It's really good. It kind of boiled down to really, again, the facilities of, town water and sewer for the property values. So
Mhm.
it was really interesting. It's well done.
Good.
Anyway. So never a dull moment in North Temple. So this is just a project that I've been working on that I wanted to share with you guys. Kind of get a idea. So I'll need to steal one back. So I can have a talk about it and go through it with you.
PRD, huh?
After I said that I had one, a 9-acre one.
So, it's pretty straightforward. It's there's many parts to this. You know, it might be, I can.
No.
See it. So basically, it's an existing parcel, which is 190 acres, which is the Covey Fields and all that. So
Is that lot 8-2-1?
Yep.
Yep, okay.
And my little house is on the little orange section, which is A215,
That's the cubby,
the
yep.
Cubby House, and that's 12.1 acres. And the thought is to take the 12.1 acres exactly the same. And if you go to the second page, you can think of the lot. And it's actually pretty cool because I walked it and it goes along the original stone walls of the lot. And it comes out exactly the same amount of property. So the thought would be to basically do a lot line adjustment. The first page, A215. And then take the land from that and annex it to lot A21. So that at this point, it's the same amount of land. And then the third phase would be to where the blue is, you would almost 12-acre, almost 12-acre lot. I think it's 11.9 acres, and create a 3-lot ERD.
So you'd be putting in a new road, is that?
Well, there's a farm road that's in there
Mhm.
that follows that stone wall, and what we would do is have that as a road for the PRD to the first wall, and then it would turn into driveways, so that would come out of current use. And the lots would come out of current use.
Common drive.
Common driveway, yeah. So for the site 2 and 3, the initial driveway would go where the existing. It's basically an old hayfield with a big drive, you know, for the hay things to go up into the fields. And that would be part of the driveway, which is existing. And then as it goes into the blue part to the right, there's an existing road there, and that would be the second part of the driveway.
And that would be a private road or
It would be a private road with the town.
a?
Similar to the roads you have in Stonegate, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And then we would keep an easement on it to be able to access the larger 190 acres. And clearly, gets a little tiny.
There's a thing coming in right here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. That's where the existing driveway is, right?
Yes. And I would love to kidnap any and all of you guys to come do a nice walk up there. It's absolutely beautiful. And Alan Fox has been rebuilding all the walls, and it's really spectacular. So it's kind of,
So site 2 and 3 are actually pretty much in the field.
yes, exactly.
And where's the common?
It's all the blue that's not in the circles.
Oh, okay.
And the hatch marks that you see is steep slope.
So have you done the calculation?
Yes, we've worked really hard on it. I have actually. I brought these guys. This is the original. So here, that's on page 1. So that's from a while ago, I think. So the 2018 is this parcel here.
Mhm.
And that also, I think,
Yeah.
Is connected to this.
yeah,
Right.
and so that, close up of everything. I can
Is this part of a PRD before? Okay.
is- This part here is taking out. So this takes out this section here
Mm-hmm.
and creates this section here.
Yeah. with more
So
control.
it's an exact land swap of
Mhm.
acreage. And then what we would do when that's gone, when this is gone, then the yellow would come around and connect with that,
Mhm.
Like this shows here.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it would include things, and then you take out the blue as there. And so the thought would be to do the lot line adjustments first in order to create a feasible lot to do the PRD.
This is steep slope,
Yes,
so you have to put a driveway in there somewhere.
well, this is the existing road,
Oh, okay.
and then this is already in. And was the old hayfield, the driveway we don't want to. Well, for these two lots, this would go right into this lot.
Right.
Yes.
It's that noise, it's the speed.
Yeah, see, what we've done with Stonegate is we do basically a circle in which that can be built on. And so that would be where the perk test and all the stuff would be for that.
2.16, 2.4,
Right.
2.1.
And then what happens is the rest of the land goes back into the conservation easement for the open space. So it's a pretty cool way of doing it. And we actually with Southwestern got the best project of the year of the state from Southwest when we did it at Stonegate One using this whole same thing.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. I'm sorry,
Are your folks okay with this?
I've been talking to them and they've nodded, yes.
Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, we got a lot. So anyway,
So very similar to Stonegate,
it's
where
exactly.
you have the
Mhm,
the common road and then the driveways branch off, let's say up to the Concordias
yes,
and the other two.
and it would be all dirt roads and underground power. So it would be it's so neat because I've really been thinking about this for a number of years. And it's so pretty to drive down Powers Road and have the hayfields and the stone walls and everything pretty much intact. And then the great thing about this on the other side, the Conleys have done a conservation easement on that side, so it will really stay the scenic road. The second site here, you won't really be able to see it all from the road. And then with the yellow that comes out, that'll be still part. So it's gonna really be,
So the house you'll see is maybe site 3.
and I think I probably won't even do that house. I think this is. By the next year, they'll open the bridge, so that'll alleviate any kind of, situation.
That's right.
with Fire trucks and stuff. That was it.
And as an association, you,
Yes,
when you do a PRD, you
we
do.
do a very simple, thing, probably Nicole would brought up, and, it would essentially just say that, there's certain things that people can't do, like put their laundry out, or I don't know what, different things like that, so that it makes it a nice place to be.
Yeah, I didn't know, no target shooting.
Nope.
And
But
I
it's not being followed.
I remember, because I was worried,
Favor.
no target shooting.
In yours?
On my PRD,
Yeah.
yep, Laurel Pastures is the name of my thing. And I did no target shooting because I thought, because I was gonna live up at the end of the driveway in the smaller house and sell the big house.
Yeah.
I thought, my luck, I'd get a guy that wants to target practice for 4 hours every Saturday. So I put it in there. I remember Willie was on the board and Willie gave me out. I said, "What, you don't like guns?" I said, "Oh, I own guns. I have guns." I said, I'm trying to, and there was no, can't have a dog kennel. I thought, well, I'm gonna get somebody who wants to have a dog kennel, So I mean, you can protect yourself with these associations,
Well, Stonegate, we had the stables and we didn't want to have.
Speaker.
Home barn. manure on it with chickens and all that kind of stuff. So we have the barn and then go across the street. So that was fine. It was just some way of thinking it through that made it specific to what, you know, folks would want to do. And this is very much smaller, certainly than anything Stonegate, but.
I was on the planning board when you did that.
Me too.
So what's the
Yeah.
function of this yellow?
So that connects to the this big lot.
You were seeing.
You can't go up in the trailer for that? Looks like you already.
If you look at it this way,
It's a-
yeah, you can, but it's, we just see you need to use on it. So this is the initial one, this is the big lot. And when we switch it over to this lot changing to that same 12 acres, it just continues around to be able to connect.
How come you stop? At all? I don't care.
No, I think we're just keeping the road front.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Oh, for the road, that's the reason why, the road frontage.
Yeah.
Yep, makes sense. Because in a PRD, you can do a common drive
right.
and still maintain and keep the road.
So what I was hoping to do was just kind of have you guys mull it over and think on it and come over and look at it. If it gets a little warmer.
Yeah.
And, see if you had any thoughts or questions. I know that I've spent a long time with Earl really going through all the different thoughts about it and this and that, and he's feeling that it's really kind of a very well thought out thing.
Earl Sanford,
Yeah,
yeah, so this is, so he's helped you with this.
he's done, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and he's the one that originally did Stonegate 30 years ago.
Uh,
Getting old, Bruce.
I can't believe he hasn't retired yet.
I know.
I thought he had retired.
He's trying to.
Yeah,
You, Russ, say anything jump out at you that,
No, I mean, I like the idea of following the stone walls. It's.
it's
Mhm.
really neat. And the coolest thing about it is in all these stone walls, they go around and they cross, if it's a little broke or something, they crisscross it so that each attachment has water. And still like that, it's so awesome. So it's absolutely beautiful and, yeah. We've had all the stone walls rebuilt and have really brought it back from when, before Richie Whitcomb had it with all the fields and everything, so it's spectacular. So I'd love for you guys to come look at it.
Do you have a timeline in mind for any of this?
Not really, I mean, I'm not in any rush, but I certainly won't waste your time. Do you guys think on it and tell me what you need for me to.
you kind of need us to be able to give you a verbal, it's doable
thought,
before
yeah.
you spend all the money with Earl
Well,
to.
what I'd like to do is get the plans really finalized as far as the utilities and driveways and stuff like that, and just anything that else. I think we've pretty much covered everything. And on the big plans, there's really down to.
I mean, so you know the zoning, Randy, and you've been to PRD before, so you know what you needed to do to make this work, so you probably already know in your mind that this is.
And it's over,
definitely doable.
The road frontages are over everywhere. I mean, the lots really, really go well with the property. I mean, it's really pretty cool. And, you know, for selfish reasons, where I live at the Covey, that protects me a lot from the thing. And also it would probably be most of my family that would move in there. I don't know if that's.
Could have you gone, here's a question, could have you gone smaller and still made it work with 3 sites? Or is it maxed out?
Probably because of the slopes, it's getting close.
Because of the
Yeah.
slopes.
And the
And it's-
wetlands, you got wetlands there, you got
Yeah.
steep slopes. like
Yeah,
that's-
and those are
Yeah, that
not
was my
really, I
question.
mean, the wetlands are very questionable. But I said, well, Earl, if you think they're wetlands, just put them in, because then it is what it is.
Seasonal, could be seasonal.
So I think that we've overcompensated for a lot, but once you go over there, you'll see how it works beautifully, and the steep slopes make it even better. So, because everything is very, I mean, you guys were talking about buffering and stuff, it's just.
Yeah,
it's
and the
a
runoff.
It's a lovely place.
Yeah, and frontages, have you
frontages are over.
Over, yeah.
328, I think, on ours, and then there's a lot of frontage, and then it actually increases the frontage for the Cubby House lot.
Mhm.
So it's kind of increasing everything, and it doesn't take any diminishment away from 821, which is the bigger lot.
I mean, I think the lot line adjustment looks, pretty standard. I think that the PRD, we'd have to spend a little more time looking at.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you want to probably get a big. copy like that for everyone.
We've been using PDFs, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we can zoom in on different areas. So don't worry about printing like a million copies in large format. I think
Well, and
if you can give us a PDF, we'll save you the printing. It's a little odd.
I don't like that. I
Well-
try not to do that.
Yeah.
Well, that's the other thing, because we. have
Because going all the way there, I
here.
kept looking at that.
The thing
Why?
about that, and I recused myself, obviously, I was on the planning board when we did Stonegate, but it's such a big parcel of land that you have to be a little innovative. It's not a 300 feet of road frontage kind of thing for one lot. You have to kind of work with the land, at least in my opinion, to make it nice and.
And I thought when I looked at it that was to give access to trails or,
Oh, I
rail
see.
system.
Oh, you mean the original
Yeah.
Whiting Brook?
Right, because you have so much land back there, kind of.
Probably a bunch of people go, maybe it wouldn't be about it.
Well, maybe the people that live there.
Yeah, but I was thinking, boy, if you could somehow get a variance or something to use the frontage right there. On the Indian Bay Road that's class 6, and then
Oh, I see.
not dip around that. and
Well,
then
the
everything
problem
else.
with that, and that's a great point, is that you see where the pond is and the dam.
Yeah.
And that's a flood control dam, and that water does go over that.
Yeah,
And I originally worked with the state with the flood control dam because they had made the pond and made the dam and then had no provision for the overflow. And how it's designed, it goes over the field and down. And they thought, well, if it's gonna be, or somebody, maybe not me, build buildings below the dam, surely Tom will let that thing go where all of a sudden the flood was going through our building. So we traded, if you see the road that goes up.
Is this where the bridge is right here?
Yes.
Okay, now I know exactly.
Okay, so if you see this little road that goes up here.
Yeah.
There's a big culvert that I put in, actually Bruce's dad did. And that is higher than the high water mark, because I couldn't get to any of this land before I took that road. So it's been a long process. I figured out the taxes on there. We paid taxes for 61 years there, and if we took every tax bill and paid it in a year, you get a bill every 2.9 days in a year for a whole year. So that's why I kind of wanted to put the culvert in so that we get into the.
So none of the land that you're proposing for the PRD has the easement on it.
That's correct.
Yeah.
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 And that was the other reasoning for this kind of design, because that was easier.
Right.
Oh, the easement is just dotted line right
The high water.
there.
Yeah.
The dotted line right there. So.
And I have to say, the state has been awesome to work with. So it's pretty straightforward. So I guess I could look to you guys for, maybe we could talk at the next meeting or whenever it's due. You guys maybe will do it.
When you said that, you're doing the lot line adjustment anyways.
Well, yes, probably would do that. anyways. So that would.
So if you wanted to start with that,
I would
like,
do that. You already got it really done.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
pretty much done. And I think that doesn't even require a hearing. It's just notification.
But a butter's notification. So I guess it is,
And it's
it is a
kind of,
hearing, isn't it?
Yeah, there's some difference, I think.
Yeah.
Say something, or,
Yeah. So Randy could
It's
move
just-
forward with the lot line adjustment and
well,
not the
honestly,
PRD.
with this lot line
Yes.
adjustment is totally in my own land. So there's, I would be notifying myself.
Right.
Well,
Well, who's 8-3 and 8-4? They would,
8-3,
yeah, okay, and 8, is that the Quins, 8-4?
8-4.
Yeah.
And that doesn't touch it.
Is it within 100 feet?
No, I don't think so. I think it's 420.
Because that's a new state.
Oh.
small.
I can totally measure that, but I measured that frontage and up to the road, it's 420. When we from their line,
And do you own across the street as well?
yes.
Yeah, okay. I don't know what lot that is, but yeah,
I think on the big one. So that might be pretty straightforward, or we can notify whoever you guys feel necessary. And I think it's just a notification for that particular.
So in the first lot line adjustment, it's orange with yellow.
Yes, correct.
So everybody.
it's the second half. Thank you.
Yes, and I'm we can do that. And also,
Well, I mean, we can, too. It's all same lot,
no,
so
because it doesn't touch there.
This
Oh,
yellow-
I
Yeah.
think you're right.
this yellow goes all the way up to
Yeah.
the highway, so
Yeah,
it's
so I guess. it
all
might be
those
some-
people, so they have a big, huge
Okay.
notice list, but none of these people even close.
That's a good thing.
Mm,
I mean, I'll do whatever you guys want me to do.
So this first page,
Because of those big
S1
lots.
is existing,
Yeah,
and then the lot line adjustment would be S2, the second page.
yeah,
So we're taking this line here.
we're just switching it around the same acreage.
Yeah.
So I'll get a list of all the abutters. I probably should have done it pretty easily.
Carol can help you in the
Across
office
the
too.
street to go.
I think it's everybody within 100 feet.
Okay,
There's the new thing because of a recent court case. So even if they're diagonal,
now would you do Stonegate as the whole farm or just the people on Next?
Oh,
that's a good
yeah,
question.
What is it? Is it a?
Because it's a homeowners association.
right.
I could do the homeowners association.
Yeah,
Oh, just inform the homeowners association,
yeah,
not every single
Yeah.
one of the.
right, one
members.
as
That
one,
makes sense.
yeah. That does make
Yeah.
sense.
This person, that person.
So it's Bill and Shell and his sister and the homeowners association.
Yeah.
And
Anybody on this backside of 101, right? Because that lot is still,
yeah, I can do those.
The storage unit,
Yeah. And I don't know the people there, but the route is there. I'll go through and get all those.
yeah, Carol can help you in the office too. She'll have
Yeah,
access.
GIS.
I still don't have an address after, since March of last year. Getting there. So then, could I ask you guys then if I had the abundance list and the labels and
The subdivision app.
subdivision app?
Mhm.
Stamp.
Yeah, we recently updated our subdivision regs, but hopefully it's easier to follow.
Mhm.
There's a section for lot line adjustments.
Yes. Let's see if we had that GIS system going right now.
Yeah,
You click on that lot, build it.
right.
There you go.
So vote for that at,
You had that.
Yeah.
vote for that at town meeting.
that's right.
And the labels too, I just did that.
Yeah,
I had to type all that crap out. Raises, look, you can do this.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
yeah,
The butters and then the form for the lot managers.
Application.
and then we usually collect the fees later in the process. Just Because we don't know usually how much the ad is gonna cost. Well, I guess we don't need to do an
You
ad
don't
for
do it,
this, just notify the,
But as
yeah,
far as the PRD goes, I don't know, I mean,
I'd like to walk it.
yeah,
Yeah.
sure, but I'm just saying is, if, you know, before he spends more money with the engineer,
Mhm.
you know, it would be good to know that it is what it shows, that it's, that we're, you know, we're good, it's doable with the steep slopes and everything. Is that why you probably want to walk?
Yeah,
Just-
that,
just
yeah,
for-
that and the wetlands,
Yeah,
I
the
think are
wetlands,
the
yeah.
two.
Yeah.
And I imagine Pete Caswell hasn't been out
No.
yet, yeah, so there's still some,
But certainly, it appears to be plenty of land and the frontage is good. So that criteria part is probably the only thing that
Mhm.
could change would be that
Yep,
wetland steep slope thing.
PRD calculations, you can have the 3 days.
mhm.
Where is it? Oh, I see it. Oh, yeah. Oh, you did do
And I
that.
need,
Yeah, he's gone.
this is
through
where I
it.
need the PDF to be able
Oh,
to. read
yeah,
it. My-
yeah,
my
right there.
eyesight.
It might be.
That's okay, I'll look at it when I get a PDF, but, yeah.
I think that we've been on the planning. And Earl's been doing this forever, so it's probably pretty long.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
following the same formula you used in Stonegate,
Yeah.
so there's a precedent.
So you want these, Jack?
Yeah. I do not, I don't.
Well, I'll have it when we fly.
Yes, that would be good.
The electronic.
We spent a lot of time reorganizing files, and when I say we, I mean Kathy and Olivia.
Then you had the
So-
editorial week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're trying not to accumulate too much paper that
I think that's
Um,
smart.
is going to be irrelevant in, 6 months from now.
So thought I'd mention that I was speaking with Randy and he, we had the signups for planning board last week and I know you signed up. And one of the gentlemen from town signed up for the 2 seats and, but Randy just had offered that, once we get our new board established, that he would be willing to serve as an alternate on the board.
Thank you,
Moving forward, so.
It would be my pleasure.
thank you.
And I have to tell you guys that I have been coming to a couple meetings here and there, and I was really impressed with the board and everyone really, everyone's different, which is awesome, but everyone really has worked very well together. So it's appreciated. The town should be lucky to have this board.
Thank you.
Thank
I will
you.
get out of your hair, and what I'll do is, should I go through Bruce? Is that?
Yeah, or Kathy, yeah.
Yeah, or
Bruce
yeah,
or Kathy,
yeah, okay, yeah.
either one.
And we'll go from there. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Randy.
Get warm later on tonight, right?
Yeah.
Kind of warm day and we'll
Well,
all
it'll
be.
be 7.
Yeah.
7 tomorrow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
All right, thank you, guys.
Take care, thanks, Randy.
what's wrong?
My son and his family are staying in a park home. Okay.
Oh. Well, they have heat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I hope so.
just no hot water.
Well, we'll be going through something similar to this as soon as we can.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so I guess the next thing on the agenda would be the site plan application. The drafts of the site plan application.
John,
We did that.
we did that at the last meeting. I think, are we in a holding pattern now while Sarah looks at it, or
I
did you?
think because I took all your edits that you all talked about, and then I circulated them around,
Yep,
added the fees, both things, check boxes, all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Doesn't matter, want to discuss that.
Nope.
The implementation. Master plan, implementation. plan.
yeah, which we kind of talked about a little bit earlier, but
Right.
I don't know if others went through and tried to figure out what's been done and what hasn't been done, and
I didn't have time to do it, so I didn't get on that.
I looked through it, I just color coded mine. Looks like we did some stuff.
yeah. Do you want to just go through the list? And we can sort of get homework if there's the things we don't know the answers to.
Yeah, I don't even have
Alright,
that.
well.
Mm.
And I just brought the new one. I didn't look at the old
Let's say, I have it in here.
one yet.
Oh, it looks like a lot of the stuff on this is we're kind of working on now anyway.
Right, right. So for the first, you want us to start with the land use one? Number one, it said assess each subdivision and site plan proposal regarding the scale and location of the proposed development in order to evaluate impacts on the town. And my question was, is there criteria for that? Because, I mean, it's ongoing, right? I mean,
Right.
every time we get an application.
It's kind of like, do you do planning board review? Yes.
Yes, right. So that was kind of a yes, right?
Yeah,
Unless there's some other specific criteria that I'm not aware of. Same with the number two, which is reviewing the zoning ordinance on an annual basis, except that we don't do it with other town boards. So that was the other thing that, you know, that's recommended to at least meet with the ZBA. They have cases
Yeah, I don't,
that you can sort of assess, like, is it appropriate or is it not appropriate? Oh.
in other town.
Oh, that's a different
Zoning
one.
For like Wilton and.
Oh, no. Yeah, and it's just to make sure it reflects the master plan, which we're in the process of updating. So again, that one was an ongoing.
that would be a big change for us, because we haven't. To my knowledge, we've never met with the zoning board. We've never collaborated, we've
Yeah,
never
I mean, it
shared
makes
notes,
sense.
we've never, I know. We never have, George, you ever recall us ever? Collaborating or sharing information with the zoning board? The ZBA ever? No.
Seems like a good idea, especially if we're gonna write their rules.
Right, exactly, right. If there's
Yeah.
finding something problematic, it would be good to hear from
We,
them.
we write the rules and they bend them.
Yeah.
Right. This next one, number three, refers to sprawl development, and again, I don't know what the criteria is. That was a question for me, like. That it was something that was highlighted in the 2003 plan as well, as to not have a lot of sprawl.
I kind of felt that what we're doing now with them is. kind of
Yeah.
That whole point,
Right.
so it's getting work.
Then the next one was telecommunications facilities to be camouflaged in 2005. Was done.
That's in the zoning. yeah.
Yep. The next one is the innovative development concepts such as conservation subdivision, which was kind of talking about earlier. We do have the mountain conservation district, so that's was a partial yes. But, and again, working on that.
PRD, open space.
Yeah.
All
Cluster.
the stuff she was just-
Right, all the stuff we were just talking about. The only thing in here is that that highlights working with the Conservation Commission for that as well. So at some point in the process, we'll want to, and I sent an email to Scott, I think. Yeah. Let's see, growth management, again. That's the innovative land use controls, RSA. We don't, it's like phased development. There's things you can put in your zoning, which we haven't done that. I'm not sure that's even appropriate at this point, because we haven't had a lot of development. Subdivision and site plan regs for stormwater, that's fully working on
I
that.
would say we haven't done that yet.
Haven't
That's
done that yet.
currently working.
We're on the list. Shared driveways and interconnecting driveways.
Have that.
We have it in our driveway regs, but I didn't see anything in our subdivision or site plan. I feel like it must be in the subdivision somewhere, but nothing came up in my search.
No, but it's in our driveway breaks.
It's in our driveway regs that
For
you can
shared-
have a shared driveway,
shared
but
driveway,
there's, yeah, nothing in our subdivision regs about it, but. So that's a question, should there be something there?
Shared driveways are a pain.
I know.
You get two people sharing a driveway, one guy wants up top,
Yeah,
the other guy doesn't.
yeah,
You pay for it, and I'll use it.
That's why you have to have an association. You could, we could have that be a condition.
Yeah.
right.
You wanna have a shared driveway, you have to create so
So
that might
Some
work.
sort of
That might
agreement.
be a
sort of
good thing
agreement.
to look
Yeah.
at that for,
Yeah.
yeah. Cause yeah, shared driveways are awful as far as.
The shared
Always causes
driveway that
fights.
Bruce has. Or had, obviously, problems.
Yeah, they do
Yeah.
not enjoy sharing the
Between
driveway.
neighbors.
My old.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And there is an agreement there, that is a homeowners association,
And they're still.
but I mean, and they still, they're
Yeah,
still,
one-
apparently they're still shooting guns and.
Specific soil mapping standards, not done.
No.
Criteria for regional impact. Not in our regs. We do talk about deciding if it's a development of regional impact, but the criteria is not in our regs. There's state criteria for
We have
it.
something listed in our regs is just per RSA 3654, that's all it says.
Yep.
But maybe that covers it.
That was it for land use, economic development. The nature of home occupations and businesses, ongoing, but I think the audit from the HOP grant said that we do a good job with it so far, at least for the moment. Forestry and agricultural overlay districts. We don't. That was a question, do we want that or not? I don't really know. I don't know why that was added from 2003. The next one, number 3, is municipal level. This is a select board one. I mean, we are part of the Southwest Regional Planning Commission, and I'm on the Economic Development Committee for that. So I guess technically it's a yes. I don't know if that would be an ongoing thing, but
If you didn't do it, yeah,
yeah, I mean, I could choose which committee I wanted to sit on, and that's the one I happened to choose, but it doesn't necessarily mean the next person that, represents our town would want to do that. Number 4, commercial development. So there was a reference in there to allowing commercial development along Route 101 in the 2003 version. So nothing was done to take that any further.
no,
It sort of
it's just been,
happens organically at this point, but
Mhm.
I think it is a question. Do we want to look at that? I don't know.
we've been kicking that can, George, for ever.
And I think that's a 2026 question. I'm not
Yeah.
suggesting we do
Yeah.
look at it now, because
Yeah,
we got our plate pretty full,
yeah,
but just something to, feel free to jump in, at anybody, at any time. I don't mean to dominate here.
it's always been said that if we're gonna have industrial or commercial, the only place we want it is on 101.
Or in the village,
Yeah.
where we already have some.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
The
like
existing.
a store
Yes,
or, yeah.
what's
yeah,
existing
yeah,
now.
yeah. Not a
Yes.
Walmart or
No.
a Best Buy or.
No.
Yeah.
Still go.
Yeah.
Then the next one was about zoning and land use regulations in neighboring towns. So I mean, I look at neighboring towns when we have questions or we're developing something, but I wouldn't say that's necessarily something that's in our rules of procedures kind of thing, but again, I feel like that must happen just naturally, right?
I do, just because I do it for work.
Yeah. Then the next one's a select board. Partnerships between educational institutions and local businesses. That is very aspirational, I thought. I mean, it sounds great. I don't know how that would work, but. Improvements of municipal facilities. And we have a CIP, which I don't, when was the CIP founded? I feel like when this was written, there wasn't one.
2003, I think we probably had a CIP. 20 years ago,
Yeah.
Maybe 20 years.
it's probably been about 20 years that we've had a
Yeah, well, it's
CIP.
been
Yeah.
22 years
22
since
years,
the last update, so,
Yeah, that was about the time we
so,
created that.
It seems like there's other committees too, like
yeah,
the highway garage committee and the land use. committee.
yeah,
I think everyone's, different committees are all doing this. So.
right, so that was a yes.
Yeah.
And then in the housing section, the first two I thought were both covered under the HOP grant the last time around. And then there's the congregate housing for the elderly, which we haven't done. The next section is the conservation and preservation, which mostly is Concom, but number 3 is the aquifer district ordinance, which we have in 2013. And then the shoreland protection district or surface water resources protection overlay district.
So say that we have the surface water because
The-
wetlands is.
We have the
surface
wetlands.
But do we have a shoreline? We don't have a
water.
shoreline.
Do we have it? No, we
Well-
haven't shown it.
I mean, around yes, there is some, right? I mean, there's the reservoir.
Well, reservoirs and.
There's the one out on, is that, what's that road?
There's lakes bigger than 10 acres.
Oh, bigger than 10 acres?
That's what shorelands covers usually.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know if the Greenville reservoirs,
I don't know.
I don't know if a reservoir
probably-
counts anyway.
reservoir might not count, might be exempt.
Yeah,
It's man-made for
yeah,
lowering and raising.
Yeah. Layton's Pond.
that's the one. Yeah,
Yeah, and that could be 10 acres.
That's what shoreline, anything 10, any list. Rivers that are listed, like Blood Brook, but I don't think Blood Brook is shorelands in Temple, I think it
Yeah.
picks up in Wilton. Or wherever it's called.
Hmm.
Any pond that's bigger than 10 acres, right, has a name or not.
yeah.
Bless you, George.
Excuse me again.
Well, the wetlands thing was 2013, so maybe that was in response. On the next page, the open space plan, which we're working on. The next one is Conservation Commission, which I think was done. It's the Conservation Reserve Fund. Do you guys have? Isn't there a fund that was created, Scott?
I mean, from the, current use taxes,
Yeah, okay.
are you talking about something?
It's to support public activities such as the acquisition of easements for land conservation or trail access and the acquisition of real property for conservation or multiple uses.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Conservation subdivision regulations, again, we have the mountain conservation, but so that was a partial, yes. Steep slopes, we're working on the scenic view shed protection ordinance. No, and the state did some stuff with that, right? Because I feel like our taxes went up because of our view.
Really?
Yeah, so I would say that's probably a not done and
No.
maybe not high on the list. We have taxes are high enough. Town's existing sign ordinance. I couldn't find a date on our existing sign ordinance, So probably has not been looked at closely in a while, right?
We did review it, and make some changes to it. When it was the Birchwood Inn.
When Gail was chair.
Oh, it was the fluorescent sign
Yeah,
thing?
we,
Or you could
right,
only have a 1 foot by 2 foot sign.
yeah, so the library and the
It
Birch,
couldn't
and they
be
all,
lighted.
yeah, it can't be blinking,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
so maybe that's.
It can only be illuminated to say on, or, on,
Open.
open or closed, or open, yeah,
I
right.
think they might have brought it over.
So what year was that? How many years ago was that?
Ooh,
A decade ago? Probably.
12 years ago.
It's been a while, yeah,
Yeah.
she was on the board, so. Then the next one, we're looking at with the grant, the utilities. Utility design, I guess kind of looking at it, but it's landscape techniques to blend facilities with natural environment.
See, I think she was just talking about all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yep. And the noise ordinance, we have one for
Yeah.
commercial and industrial, 2016. So that, I think that was it for the old ones. And then the new ones. As I was saying, that number one. Techniques to mitigate effects of climate change. Not sure what that looks like,
You need some guidance to know what that means and.
right?
What to do about it.
Yeah, I didn't see anything in the natural resources audit that addressed that specifically, but maybe you guys would have, Concom would have some idea.
We can talk about it.
Okay,
We have a meeting tomorrow.
we're already doing
Did
the
number two. yeah.
number two, the off-street parking. Again, the next one was the
Wouldn't go back
non-conforming.
to number one, wouldn't it?
Sure.
I mean, wouldn't one of like stormwater runoff?
Yeah.
These events that are happening more. it would-
Right,
It would probably be on those lines.
Yeah,
That the techniques would be ways to.
yeah, in our area would be flooding.
Flooding, yeah,
mitigate the bigger
right,
storms, and all that, yeah.
yeah,
I think that's beyond our board though, because it's, there's a lot of science that all the engineers use to figure that stuff out in books and formulas. It's like, I feel like we're a little underprepared to make rules that, how would you make rules? You wouldn't know what
Right,
Yeah.
stuff means.
well,
right,
right now, we're dealing with, 100-year storm or, drainage for projects for that.
Yeah,
But-
yeah. I just don't know how we make changes without having some engineer or scientist tell us
Yeah.
what we ought to do.
well, the flood ordinance would help, but.
Yeah. Yeah,
I said off-street parking already, expansion of a non-conforming lot, even if the expansion does not result in a conforming lot.
Expansion.
see, and my question, are they talking use or dimension?
Yeah, so we
Yeah.
talked about this, we talked about somebody had a 1 acre lot. And then they added an acre to it, it's still a non-conforming lot,
But
Right.
it's not 3 acres. Well, unless it's in the village district,
Right,
but,
and,
I mean, somebody might have an acre and they just wanna add another acre, cause they wanna. It could be for farming, they can't build on it, but maybe they're farming,
Yeah.
mhm,
Yeah,
Yep.
or maybe they find their barn is like over the
Yeah.
line and get a boundary survey and, oh geez, back to the
Yeah.
barn is 10 feet over, so you do a boundary line adjustment, make it a
Yeah.
lot bigger.
And
mhm,
so I can see where this has merit.
yep. So, do you want to look into that, or do we want to wait and see what we have, what we're presenting as a whole?
Probably just, yeah.
Maybe we'll put 2026 on that.
Yeah. Yeah, we can only do so much.
Low impact development, looking at. And then on the housing, the two-family, let's see, it says two-family and multifamily dwelling in the village district. I think what we're proposing is all districts for the multifamily conversions. And we missed that two-family thing, but
Yeah, we did,
they can have an ADU.
only at the percentage though.
Right.
But with a special exception, right? You said that they.
Yeah, with a variance, right?
Variance or special exception?
think it's a variance.
I don't remember what we said.
It's a variance in our proposal,
We
and
called
I
it a
remember
variance.
we checked with legal and Office of Planning and Development, and they said variance.
Yeah, if that passes this year, we should next year go back and amend that to.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the next, all of the ones in here are covered under this year's
Yeah.
work that we're doing.
POD, workforce housing.
And then economic development ongoing for the home-based businesses. Like I said, their audit said we were in good shape there. The next one is covered under the HOP grant, environmental protections. And then the ZBA is the next, working with the ZBA. We should, try to do a joint meeting with them at some point this year when we have a little more for them to react to.
Invite them to come to one of our meetings.
Mhm. And the last page, conservation and preservation. I think these are all, in progress, the open space. Oh, the solar energy, which is further in on our agenda, which it's getting late, so. I don't know how detailed you want to go into that, but. And then the natural resource inventory in progress and the cooperating with neighboring towns. Is not something we've done, I think, historically.
No,
Not a bad idea, but, yeah. Does the Concom do that at all?
Scott was going to there were open space. Were they called open space or green space? The idea was to connect, like
Wildlife quarters.
and.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And Scott was attending those, but I haven't heard him.
Makes
mention it,
sense.
so.
So, did everything in there make sense? I know Carter seemed to have some concerns about what was in there, but she's obviously not here to speak for herself, but I didn't see anything that didn't come out of the last year's work. Other than, like I said, those two that I mean,
I mean, it's,
questions on.
at first glance, it seems overwhelming.
Yeah,
Oh, that's a lot to do, but
it can be pared down.
yeah, I think it's. Probably not as bad as it seems.
I thought they were pretty general too. They weren't very,
Yeah.
other than the ones that,
More than half of it, we're already.
we're already
So
doing.
you could pull everything out of the list that's already been done, and probably the stuff that you're doing after, doesn't really need to be in the list, so it's. If this is a to-do list, it's only the ones that haven't done it all,
Right,
then figure out the lot.
So do you wanna
clean it up. and-
and send it out to us all
Sure.
to approve,
Yep,
what we wanna recommend?
sure.
Thank you.
Want me to add the other sections that we talked about, or wait and talk about those more first?
I
The
mean,
transportation, the community facilities.
Yeah, we don't wanna forget about those. but
No, we don't.
I don't know when, do we have to do it now, or would it be wise to do it now? Or?
I mean, let me take a stab at this
Yeah.
first,
Mhm.
and then,
Yeah,
I-
we won't forget, we're not gonna forget the other sections.
yeah,
We know we need to.
right. So that's that.
Okay. The annual survey, did you? get
I
that?
didn't print it. I think it's not due until June.
I don't think nobody sent it to me, though. Did they send it to you and not to me?
Carol sent it. Didn't she send it to the entire board or just to me? I
I
don't,
think I've seen.
I thought it went to
Or
the whole,
link anyways.
yeah, I thought it went to the whole board.
It must have gone because I got it and I wouldn't have seen it if it just come to you, so.
Yeah, could somebody resend that to me? Cause I don't
Yeah,
recall seeing that.
I think we typically wait until after town meeting to see what gets approved.
Yeah, that
Just
makes sense.
send it in.
Yeah.
But just maybe keep it on our to-do list on the agenda.
What was the date that was?
January 23rd at 8:57.
Does it have temple planning in the send or did it?
You know what, the send is actually.
Oh, he's got it.
Yeah,
Oh, you do.
unopened.
Okay, perfect.
He's got it. So, yeah, I think it's not due till June.
Yep.
Which would make sense because there's some towns that have town meeting in May. So,
Okay,
so the SolSmart thing,
I read through that.
I attended the
this
information session. It looks like a good opportunity at least to get a review of our policies and procedures around solar. And there's no cost, which is nice.
Yeah, I was reading that. No cost.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like it's a ton of time commitment. So I don't know if anybody has any interest in representing, if we want to participate in this and, yeah, I'll pass that over.
I'm interested in solar.
Awesome, that'd be great. So there's, I think I forwarded the email that came with the slides and the
I saw it
presentation.
in there. I just
Like
had
20
a chance
pages.
to read it.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Slides, it's like
Some of the slides are sponsored by,
Yeah.
they're not all. So maybe you wanna, we have to say whether we want to participate by February 28th, I believe. So between now and our next meeting, if you want to take a look at it. Does everyone else think it's a good idea or?
I don't think it's a bad idea. I don't think what can it hurt?
That's what I felt like, I
Mhm.
mean, might as well,
Somebody's willing to take the time, like Jim, to
yeah,
do it and
I did
get
send it,
educated and it doesn't cost anything, then
right. I did send it to the Concom and the Renewable Energy Task Force, I didn't get a response. But, yeah, I think we should look at it anyway,
Try and get more involved in the hairy thing.
yeah.
At some point, I'm gonna put solar on mine. Like,
Yeah, well, if you want to take this, you can take it, I've got an electronic version too,
let's see.
yep.
Okay. So do we discuss anything in the old business as far as storage or the GIS? We know we're going to the town to vote. The zoning amendments are set.
Yep,
right?
they are submitted. I haven't seen the ballot created yet, but they have everything they need from us for that.
Ted Perry's withdrawing for the moment. I'm told that the warrant articles on the discontinued roads.
Yep,
So
that's what
that
I heard as
that's
well.
gonna get kicked down the road a little bit on that one, so we don't have to discuss that. And then I guess it would just be
Yeah, I sent out legislative updates or the NHMA
so
thing. I do know they're still working on some housing bills. They're trying the ADU stuff again. We'll see where that goes if it passes, but since in the process, and they seemed optimistic. Trying to think if there was anything else on there that, yeah, there's some interesting bills. We'll see what gets through. I think that's it. Oh, Russ and I did the Housing Academy.
Yep.
First session.
how'd that go?
pretty interesting.
Was that virtual or was that a?
Yeah.
The Zoom thing.
Yeah.
That was, yeah, the virtual. The next one's in person. With lunch next week. If
Yes.
Ooh.
you want to carpool, we can. But yeah, I thought it was really good.
Anything new?
Well, there's new numbers. I mean, the median house price is high again, higher, like 530, I think now.
Yeah, the pricing, that stuff, everything went up. I did find, and we talked about it a little tonight, was workforce housing. The girl did that presentation about this is workforce housing and this is workforce.
Yeah,
housing,
Sarah
And
writes.
it's all these different buildings that It's just, it could have been like the Birchwood looked like, except, oh, they're affordable apartments upstairs.
Mhm.
So that's where that counts.
Right,
Or doing like what we're doing is taking a house and allowing you to chop it in 3 units. That's workforce housing. It doesn't have to even look different outside.
Doesn't have to be a 5-unit building.
Right.
That looks like a
People
condo.
would never even know, and I think that's the
It's-
biggest problem is people going, oh my God, I don't want this row of brick buildings here.
right, right.
Yeah.
It's what's appropriate for the town.
I think, it's a practical thing to me. It's also, like you said earlier about the fact that it's not just people outside. You gotta have affordable housing
Yeah.
for the people that you gotta have that variety.
Right,
Some inexpensive places to more expensive places. You want to cover the whole base.
mhm, right,
There is risks though, when you get the inexpensive places that you get, people from outside of town that wanna come in and.
that happens with a big house too.
Yeah, no, and,
Doesn't matter what size the house
like,
is.
but, I mean, to be frank with people, or, they don't want,
No, meth house.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
it has nothing to do with, it has nothing to do with, gender, race, none of that
No.
stuff. It just
Yeah.
has to do with income levels and,
Yeah.
culture,
You're being kind, you're being kind. yeah.
I am, well, I
Yeah,
have.
there's been people that
Let's
call,
not be
I
judgmental.
yeah, they called it, somebody called it once, riffraff. We don't need riffraff in Temple. It's like, well, define
Riffraff.
define riffraff.
I'm
I don't know.
You're riffraff.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
raised
right.
5 girls,
Yeah.
and that they don't live around here, but I would consider some of them in that category.
Yeah.
I have one right now, I mean, she worked at the Goodwill in Hudson for a number of years. She moved up with her sister in Maine now, but she tried to work Goodwill there, but it didn't work out, so now she's out of work, and she'll stay out of work until somebody handholds her to a job, so it's just
Mhm.
different
Yeah.
type of people,
My thought is
And I raised her.
most people that come into town want to have a house on a 3-acre piece
Yeah.
and not be able to see their neighbor.
Yep, exactly,
They don't mind
That's
having
why we-
neighbors, they just don't want to see the house.
I bought that, I bought 60 acres, and one of the reasons I bought it was the foundation for the house is inside, it's not on the edge of the road, I don't wanna see people going up and down, I don't even hear it.
The thing is, if you talk to young people, that's not what they want.
Right.
They want a little house.
They want a house.
They want a little house that they don't have to maintain so
Yeah.
that
Oh,
they
that's
can
what I
spend their time living their life outside.
That's what I'm gonna want for my retirement. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna have that big.
I don't want a big house
I want
when
a
I retire
little
either.
house, yeah.
Big yard, I wanna mow.
That's the problem, right? Is that we're competing now for starter homes
Yeah, a
with
little
young
house.
people.
It's
Because
competing
that's
with
what
a-
younger people can
Yeah,
afford.
the $700,000
Right.
starter home.
So people that come to town
God help
want
us.
that because that's all we have.
Yeah.
If we had other things, we would have younger people in town.
True.
Got a grandson that we raised and he just soaks up, he doesn't contribute, doesn't do anything, and he feels that's perfectly fine. Now, he lives in Maine now, or no, actually he lives in Wisconsin,
Yeah, yeah.
but he wants to come back, and we're all saying, no. And I've said,
We
no,
lock
I
the door.
said, it's not that we don't love you or we don't like you, it's that you're not contributing to the society, to the group. If you don't have something to offer,
So I just have one last thing, kind of interesting Temple history. The zoning, 1972. I spoke at a long conversation with Peter Caswell. And Kathy did some homework and went down and found the fragile records. But so 1972, Pete told me, and this is, I had spoke with him prior to Kathy doing all this homework. When we adopted zoning in 1972, it was 3 acres, 300 feet of frontage. And so that hasn't changed. But the interesting thing is, as Paul Harvey said, the rest of the story is that the forefathers that were involved with the passing that zoning, they never recorded it until 1980.
Oh, my gosh.
There was rumors of I don't know how they found out, but so technically anybody from 1972 to 1980 or 81, this is how Pete worded it, if they were ever refused and that family was still here and had that property, they could really they could, record-
Wow,
they might, because Temple never recorded it for almost a decade.
wow,
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of crazy news, but
right.
I don't think it's ever gonna bite us, but,
Well, the interesting thing, when I was reading it, it says that, the road frontage was on a public road or a private driveway, which means it didn't have to be a class 5 or better, it could have been a class 6 road.
so they changed that on the
So
fly.
that must have been changed
Yeah.
at some
But it was
point.
always 300 feet.
Yeah,
and 3
it just
acres,
was, didn't have to be a class 5 or better.
What is the point of 300 foot of frontage?
Probably see it on the bowling alley lot. Or,
Density, yeah.
yeah,
Have you seen, like, where I
It's-
live up there, there's all these houses, we have 180 feet of frontage.
Yeah.
And 6 acres, but it goes back.
deep
Right.
bowling alley lots, they call them.
In your house, like, I couldn't do anything on either side, there's no place to put a barn or a shed, because my house is already in the setbacks, just
Yeah.
sitting there.
Yeah,
And if you talk to a planner, they'll tell you that you don't need that much road frontage.
That's a lot of frontage.
It's a lot of,
So,
it's a lot compared
so
to
we
a lot
could,
of other
maybe
towns.
someday we could change that, but we still have to have a formula to keep that lot, so it's not.
Right, so
that
it's not a narrow.
narrow
long area.
odd size.
It's a density thing, it's just different ways of looking at it, because you're
Right.
300 feet of frontage, you gotta kind of picture that unless someone does weird lots, they're gonna be 300 feet wide, so you've kind of made a density along the road.
Yeah.
You get other towns that have 50 feet of frontage in a rural zone, but you have 10 acres, so they all have these weird axe-shaped lots.
And maybe a
Yeah.
setback, and maybe their setbacks are more than 35 feet too.
Yeah, they're 50 feet, something like
So
that.
they know they're getting the house back off the
Yeah.
road. Yeah.
I think
I
the
get the
frontage could be
setbacks, I
reduced
get
to
the lot
250
size.
feet.
And I do get the
Yeah,
the
Because it
frontage,
all
but I don't get
depends on
300 feet.
Septic and water.
Yeah,
mhm,
Where I grew up
Yeah,
in Westmont.
makes sense.
500 feet of frontage, 10 acres in the zone that I lived in.
Jeez, yeah.
right.
Now I know that the reason my house goes like, my driveway goes like this and up is because I have that little wedge.
Yeah.
66 feet.
And you were, I think, you were
Pre-zoning.
pre-zoning, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think I'll have any problem when it comes to getting this in, but I will have that shared driveway, there's no way around it.
mhm.
Well, it's 9 o'clock, guys.
Motion to adjourn,
Russ, how do you vote?
Yes.
I vote yes.
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 Yes, okay.
Russ, can you end the meeting?
Good meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
And whatever said no.